So we had a look at the Nikon Z7 and Z6 a little while ago, and at the time we said it was a step in the right direction for Nikon in terms of mirrorless cameras. Now fast forward to 2020, with all their competitors updating their cameras, Nikon have finally dropped the Z7 II and the Z6 II. Now unfortunately today we do not have the Z7 II for review, but we are going to look at the brand new Z6 II and the Nikon 14-24 Z mount f2.8 lens. So let's get into it and see if the Z6 II is a worthy upgrade from the Nikon Z6. So to kick off the video, I'm going to outline the differences of the brand new Z6 II, starting with the body. First of all, it is a little bit heavier compared to the Z6, but not too much. And it also sports a brand new battery. And the battery is an ENEL 15C. And this is slated to shoot approximately 340 shots, which is a little bit more than the Z6. And once the battery's out, you'll notice that there are an array of circular pins on the inside, and that is to sport a brand new Pro battery grip. Now, what you can do with this brand new battery grip is what you would expect from a standard professional battery grip, giving you a second shutter button, the ability to change your settings as well as other features such as an extra USB-C port, which is great if you're gonna use that for charging or file transfer. In terms of the electronic viewfinder, if you remember from our previous reviews of the Z6, we highly praised it for its lag-free experience and just overall resolution. Now with the brand new EVF in the Z6 II, it's a lot brighter, lag-free, and sports less blackout as well. And one of the biggest improvements we see with the Z6 II is that now it does have 2 card slots. So you've got one SD card slot as well as one slot for CF Express. And as you expect from an enthusiast and pro camera, the Z6 II has the same amount of features that you would expect. So it's kept its headphone port, microphone port, you have a mini HDMI port out, you've got a USB-C port which can be used for charging as well as file transfer, but you can also use it to power the camera now, because previously you could not do that. And then finally as well, you do have your remote port. On the back of the camera, you do have your standard articulating screen. However, it just tilts down and up. And finally, one of the coolest features about the Z6 II, which I really like, is that you can firmware update the camera via the SnapBridge app instead of having to plug your SD card into a computer, downloading some random file and then booting it up. You can actually just firmware update it through an app, which I think is a lot more convenient. Okay, now moving to the features on the inside of the camera. It still sports a 24.5 megapixel full frame sensor. However, now it's backed up with 2 X-Speed 6 image processors, giving you a plethora of new features and a camera that's full of power. For example, now you can shoot 14 frames per second with a large 124 image shot buffer, giving you that super fast shooting experience and large buffer you need to get your action and your sport shots. Secondly, it can now sport a video performance of 4K up to 60 frames per second, which will come at a later firmware update. Just a note as well, when you're shooting at 4K 60, it does crop to 1.5 times. But if you do shoot 4K at 30, it will use the full sensor. Secondly as well, you can shoot full HD up to 120 frames per second, giving you amazing amounts of slow motion goodness. Thirdly, with the autofocus, the Z6 II has taken the already really good autofocus performance from the Z6, upping that 273 point potential to giving you eye autofocus not only in video mode, but also in wide area focus as well. On top of that, they've improved the low light performance in the autofocus modes and giving you more potential to shoot in those darker conditions, whether you're shooting at a reception or you're outside shooting astro or just everyday shooting in general. In addition, the Z6 II does give you extra video recording capabilities too when filmed to an external recorder. This gives you features such as 10-bit analog and filming at HLG. Now this is the last addition into the Nikon Holy Trinity lens lineup. We've got a 14-24mm, meaning you've got a ultra wide field of view, great for shooting landscapes, astrophotography, and that is because you can open it up to f2.8, getting that great low light performance, and boasting really good sharpness. Now, if you're an F-mount user of the 14-24, you will know that Nikon know how to make great wide-angle lenses. Now, the main problem with the old F-mount 14-24 was it had pretty bad distortion, but in saying that, it's quite an old lens. The good news is, with the Z-mount 14-24mm, they've fixed the distortion issues and it does look a lot better. So you will have that expected distortion that you will from an ultra-wide lens, which can be easily corrected with a future Lightroom update or some kind of preset, but straight out of camera, the brand new 14-24 already looks better, and it's a lot lighter and it's smaller than the 14-24 f-mount lens. Now, speaking of the 14-24 physical features, you've got your standard focus ring and your zoom ring. Some extra features as well, you do have a function button, your standard auto to manual focus switch, and then you do have a display button for the screen on the lens. Now, this display will display things such as your focus distance, your aperture value, as well as what focal length you're shooting at. Now, moving on to this as well, there are some pretty nifty special features in this lens. Firstly, at the back, there is a control ring, which is fully programmable. So if you want to change that to focus or ISO, whatever you will, that will just help with workflow. So if you're a professional or you just are sick of going through menus, having that extra ring is quite useful. Other cool features about this lens, it is coated with your standard fluorine coating like you would expect from any other top-end Nikon lens, just to protect it against weather, against all the elements, as well as fingerprints and smudges. And then you do have an Arneo and a nano coating just to help with ghosting and reflections. Now, finally, one of the most interesting features and one of the biggest gripes about 14-24 f-mount users was the fact that you couldn't screw in filters with its construction. Now, with that initial construction, that required you to get a square filter system that was 150 millimeters big and sticking that at the front and then sliding in your filters. It was a very timely and it took a lot of effort to mount all of that stuff on. Now, with the brand new lens, they've fixed that a little bit. So one of the cool things about this lens is it does come with another lens hood, and that second lens hood, when you pop it on, it will allow you to mount on 112mm circular filters, which will mean that you won't need to carry around your full 150mm square filter system plus all the filters that go with it. All you'll need is that lens hood and just your circular filters, and that just makes carrying a lot easier. And if you're going to travel or if you're going on a hike, it won't be such a hassle to carry all those fat square filters anymore, which I think is a great move from Nikon. So the Z6 II boasts a similar autofocus performance to the Z6 in that it's still a good AF system with a solid 273 autofocus points. But what they've done with the Z6 II over the Z6 is that they've improved the low light focusing. So if you like shooting overcast or indoors, it has improved the autofocus in that regard. Now, secondly as well, it does have 5-axis image stabilization in the body. So if you are shooting video and if you are shooting photos with those longer exposures, we're happy to know that the stabilization is still pretty good. I have never seen the Strand Arcade this empty in my life. Man, this lens is so good. The lens is good, but my photography is not. So just some quick impressions after using this camera for a bit. Firstly, just like the Z6, it's a solid camera. If you're a person out there who does video or is a photographer but doesn't really have a specific professional trade, or you do enjoy your low light photography as well, then the Z6 is a very balanced camera. It can not only do great photos, great video, but now it can shoot super fast, giving you that extra performance in action photography, which is awesome. And it's just a very versatile machine, and it's pretty good in low light too. There are a couple things that I wish the Z6 II did have. The screen, they've still kept the same tilt screen. Now, although I enjoy an articulating tilt screen as I've been using for years, as a lot of cameras now, they're starting to swap into using flip screens, which I still think are a lot more practical, especially giving the rising age of vloggers and anyone who just wants to set up their shot in any kind of way. The flip screen is so much more versatile. And secondly, the SD card port. Now, although it's great that they've now got 2 slots, one of the things I like most, especially with some of the other cameras on the market, is that they've integrated a double CF Express slot with 2 SD card slots on the inside, which gives you the flexibility to do dual CF or dual SD, or one of each. Now, with this kind of configuration, you're only going to be limited to one of each. And CF Express is still expensive, and for the masses, it's not going to be the preferred card. And most people will end up with buying an SD card. In saying that though, if you are a person that is looking to record in 4K video and you are looking to do 4K 60, or looking to use that 14 frames per second shooting and really get maximum use out of that image buffer, it may be worth just going for that extra speed and getting a CF Express card. But overall, as I said, Z6 is a great camera, and I can't recommend it more for anyone who's already using the Nikon ecosystem and are using a D780 or a D750 and are looking to swap to Z mount, or anyone that's just looking for a light camera that's full frame, great in low light, great video, that just packs everything that you need. So my final thoughts on the Nikon Z6 II and the Nikon 14-24mm F2.8 Z mount. Firstly, huge fan of the lens. I am so glad that they fixed that side distortion and made it into not only a really low profile wide angle lens, but also accommodating a brand new filter system, which is a lot nicer for you to carry around on your travels when we can travel again. So to wrap up this summary, we've decided to film it on the Z6 II to finish off this video. Now, the Z6 II is a good camera and is a worthy upgrade from the Nikon Z6. In my opinion, it definitely is, and that's because it's got so many brand new upgrades that I feel like are a big tick in a lot of boxes. First of all, for professionals, you now get those 2 card slots and the ability to add a pro battery grip with full functionality, which is a huge win. Not only are you going to be able to shoot longer, but with the added card slots as well, you're going to be able to have a backup, and with that CF Express slot, be able to use the beefier features of the camera. For example, being able to shoot super fast at 14 frames a second, or in the future, shoot 4K up to 60 frames per second. Now, the Z6 II also keeps all the features that you love from the Z6, such as the 5-axis image stabilization, the amazing ergonomics, and now with an even better electronic viewfinder. So all in all, I believe the Z6 II is a great upgrade from the Z6, and Nikon have not only taken a great step in the right direction for mirrors, but even a bigger step with the Z6 II. If you have any questions on the Nikon Z6 II, pop them in the comments below or drop into our store in Sydney. Now, if you want to learn more information about the camera, we have a written blog about it below, and also information on it on our website, which links to that is also in our description. Now, in terms of our social media, follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and also our written blog to stay up to date with our latest news, events, as well as giveaways and promotions. And as always, hit the like button and the subscribe button so you don't miss out on our future updates.